Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today I have a slightly different kind of video for you guys, and that is a TBR video. So today is November 1st and it is the start of Believathon, which is a reading challenge hosted by Gavin at How to Train Your Gavin and focuses on middle grade and children's literature. I am really excited to be participating this year. I am also going to be participating with my middle school classes, which is going to be a blast, and I'm so excited. So if you haven't heard of Believathon, I'll leave the announcement video down below. Definitely check out Gavin. He's put so much work into Believathon. It is really, truly spectacular, and I'm really excited. So Believathon is, like I said, a middle grade reading challenge and is focused around solving the mystery of the missing Malefictorium. This is an ancient book that contains vital secrets for the land of Believathon, and it is our job to figure out who stole it. And in order to do that, we have to collect clues at the Manor of Make-Believe. We do that by reading books that fit prompts. There are 12 prompts, and I want to tell you guys what I plan on reading. Now, I think I have bitten off a little bit more than I can chew because I decided to read a different book for every prompt, which maybe isn't the best idea considering I've only read a couple of books a month the past couple months. So yeah, this is going to be interesting, but almost all of my books can double up on prompts at the very least. So even if I don't get through all of the books, I will still be able to complete the reading challenge. I have my cup of tea here, my computer with my like all of the books that I'm reading and synopses and everything over to my left. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, I tried to make my TBR as diverse in terms of representation as possible, and also in terms of popularity of books. So I have what I feel is a pretty good mix of books that I've heard a lot about on YouTube and books that I either haven't heard mentioned at all or have barely heard mentioned but am still really excited to read. Most of the books that I will be reading will be on my Kindle, so I will put the cover right here. So the first prompt is the key, and that is to read a middle grade mystery. This is the clue that has to be collected before any others, and I have already started my book for that, and that is The Keeper of the Lost Cities by Sharon Messenger. This is a book that I have heard a ton about from actually quite a few people, but mostly from Reagan at Prue's project. This is a book about Sophie, who is a 12-year-old girl who can read minds. This is something that she keeps a secret from everyone, even her family, and she's been able to read minds since she was 5. Everything kind of starts to change when she meets a boy named Fitz, who informs her that she is an elf. And sorry for the glare of sunlight. I'll go ahead and put it down. And so Sophie is whisked on this magical journey, and she has to figure out what secrets people are hiding. So this is probably the prompt that I most liberally interpreted. When you look on Goodreads, quite a few people have categorized this under middle grade mystery, so there are definitely mystery elements, and as the description says, there are secrets about Sophie's past and her history that a lot of people, or maybe some people, don't want to come out. But Sophie is trying to figure those out. I have started this book. I am about 40-ish, 50 pages into it. So far it's really good, really fast paced. I am really enjoying it. The next clue is the fingerprints, and that is to read a book by an author who is of a different culture than yours. And I chose Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky by Kwame Mbaliye. This is a Rick Riordan Presents book that is based in West African and African American mythology and folklore. I am really excited about this book. I don't know much about the plot, but I love that Rick Riordan has used his influence in the genre of mythical retelling for middle grade specifically to promote own voice stories. And so these Rick Riordan Presents books are all based in mythologies told by people who are of that culture. And I just love that. After collecting the fingerprints, our journey takes us back outside to collect the screen. And this is to read an audiobook or read a book aloud. And for this, I chose Tilly and the Book Wanderers by Anna James. I listened to the first couple minutes of the audiobook, and the narrator sounds fantastic. So I'm really excited to listen to this. This is a book about a girl named Tilly who lives above her grandparents' bookstore, which honestly, a dream, right? I wish I could live above a bookstore. But one day she discovers that characters from her favorite books are jumping into the real world through something called book wandering. And so that kind of sets them off on a journey to discover and solve the mystery of what happened to her mother. I'm really excited about this one as well. I think I'll say that a lot during this video. I obviously chose books I was really excited about to try to help me, actually make it through all of these books. The next book is The Torn Page, and that is to read a book with a supernatural element. I decided to read The Muse Squad, The Cassandra Curse by Chantel Acevedo. This is a book I haven't really heard about on BookTube. I heard one person mention it, and I don't remember who it was, but it sounded so intriguing. So basically, it's about this Cuban-American girl who discovers that she is destined to be one of the muses, like from Greek mythology. And so she goes off to Muse headquarters where she meets a couple of other girls who are also to be muses, and their first mission is to help a particularly nerdy girl in the main character's class. It just sounds really interesting, like a really creative retelling of mythology, and I don't know, it just sounds really interesting, so I'm really hoping that it's good. Next is The Crown, which is a book set in another world. Most of these books would work for that, but like I said, I chose a different book for every prompt, so for this prompt, I chose The Wizard of Once by Cressida Cowell. This is a book that Gavin recommends, or I've heard him talk a lot about it on his channel. This is the same author as the How to Train Your Dragon books, and I'll just read you the back because I don't really know what this is about. It says, once there was magic. This is the story of a young boy wizard, a young girl warrior brought of his enemies. But they have been so busy fighting that an ancient evil has returned unnoticed. I don't know, it just sounds really interesting. And if I set my tea very carefully, it has all of these great illustrations, which there's no illustrations on that page. But which I believe are done by the author herself. So that is an added fun thing. I always love when authors illustrate their own books. But yes, so that is for The Crown. The next prompt is Spilled Ink, and for this prompt I am going to be reading a book with a ghost in it. I don't normally read books like that. I'm not huge into horror or creepy things. Obviously, friendly ghosts are fine. But for this one, I chose to go a little bit out of my comfort zone for something a little bit more on the spooky side, though not super far on the spooky side, and read The Girl and the Ghost by Hannah Alkoff. So this is what looks to be a really interesting book. I found it just by perusing Goodreads one day, and I was really intrigued by the premise. So this is actually a retelling of Malaysian folklore and is about a girl named, Soraya. It's about a girl named Soraya, and her grandmother, who's a witch, gifts her a spirit or a ghost. I don't really know fully what like the parameters of a ghost is, like how they define ghost, but regardless, she names the ghost Pink. And together they become inseparable. But soon they find out that there is a darkness with Pink that comes kind of on the other side of her, and they have to work together to find a way to prevent darkness from consuming both of them, which obviously they don't want. I'm really excited. I don't know much about Malaysian folklore, so I'm really excited to have this opportunity to learn a little bit more. And the author, I believe, is either of Malaysian descent or is Malaysian, but I'll have to double check on that. But regardless, I'm really excited. The next prompt is The Dagger, which is to read a book set in a dangerous setting. Again, most of my books would fit for this, but I decided to read, it's a very long title, so I'm gonna have to read it, Silver Battle and the Water Dragon Races by K.D. Hallbrook. This book sounds so interesting. I saw the cover and was immediately intrigued, and the synopsis just sounds absolutely amazing. It's an Arab-inspired world. It's set in kind of a desert, but the main character really wants to race water dragons. So let me read you the synopsis, because seriously, this is what sold me on this book. 13-year-old Silver Battle calls the desert home, but her heart belongs to the waters. Although she expected to become a jeweler like her father, Silver harbors a secret and forbidden wish to race dragons, specifically water dragons. Destiny comes calling when her friendship with a mysterious old woman leads her to Hyen, a baby dragon that can swim and fly. Risking everything, Silver, Hyen, and her resourceful cousin Brayon set off across the desert to join the legendary races in the royal city. But the road is filled with danger, and the trio must band together as they encounter ferocious cave beasts, clever desert foxes, and cutthroat competition. As Silver and Haya soar through the skies and speed through the seas, both must learn what they are willing to sacrifice for a shot of glory. So excited. You will see a common theme of dragons in this TBR. That was not intentional. It just kind of happened. But I'm really excited. I love books about dragons, and I don't get to read enough of those. For the backpack prompt, you are supposed to read an author that is new to you. And every single one of these books so far would fit that. Actually, I don't think I'm reading a single book that is not by an author who's new to me. But like I said, I'm crazy, so I decided to read The 12 by Cindy Lin. This is a world inspired by Chinese mythology and is about a girl who is born under a particular zodiac sign, and she has zodiac powers. And this is not necessarily a good thing in the sense that the Dragon Lord is hunting down everyone who has zodiac powers. When her sister, who also has these crazy powers, is kidnapped by the Dragon Lord's dragon army. What are they called? The Dragon Guard. When she's kidnapped by the Dragon Guard, the main character must team up with some other kids who are also zodiac, have zodiac powers, and they're going to Mount Jade. And it sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like it could be really interesting, and I'm excited to read it. Let's check the time. All right, we're good. I have to leave in a little bit, so I'm like trying to hurry this up. I mean, not hurry, but you know, I don't want to be late for my thing. This book is recommended for people who enjoyed Spirit Animal, which I read a couple years ago, probably back in high school, and actually really enjoyed. It's just a short little book, and it was really good. I didn't continue on with the series because I just didn't ever get around to it, but I saw that and was like, okay, yeah, I remember liking this book. Let's give this new book a try. For the next prompt, it is The Footprints, and that is to read a book with a prominent villain. This is the prompt that I struggled the most with. I had absolutely no idea who to choose, and if I hadn't read Wild Spark last month, or actually in September, I probably would have chosen Wild Spark, but I did. And so yeah, so instead I'm going to be reading Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. This is a super popular book on BookTube right now, so I'm not going to get into the synopsis. It just sounds magical, and a lot of people really love it, and it's one of the books that was recommended for this prompt, so I figured I would go ahead and take the opportunity to read this book. The next prompt is to read a book with a beautiful cover, and that will allow us to collect the clue of the hand mirror. For this book, I am choosing to read A Pinch of Magic. Honestly, all of these books, maybe not all of them, but most of them would fit for this prompt. But again, I wanted an excuse to read A Pinch of Magic. I don't really know what this book is about, other than a lot of people really love it, and every time people describe it or talk about it, I think about really wanting to read it. So the Adrian's bookstore, which is the only bookstore here that sells English books that I found, at least, they have the second book, but not the first one. So I'm gonna have to get it on ebook, but regardless, the cover is beautiful. So that's the cover that that's the book I'm going to read for the hand mirror. The next clue is The Chain, which is to read a book with a colorful cast of characters. For this book, I'm going to be reading Frostheart by Jamie Little. There we go, that's a little bit better. So this is a book that, again, I have heard Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin rave about. He loves this book. The second one just came out and he sent it to a bunch of his friends. So a bunch of people are reading book 2 for Believathon. And when I saw this at Adrian's, I just had to pick this up. I picked this up at the same time I picked up Wild Spark. And this is a polar fantasy, and it sounds really interesting. It has magic and yetis and sea voyages and, oh no, not sea voyages, an explorer sleigh crew. So I'm excited. And apparently the Yeti in this story is a grumpy Yeti guardian, which just sounds like so much fun. So I'm really excited to get to this. The next clue to collect is The Flash of Lightning. And in order to collect this clue, we have to read a book with folklore or fairy tales. Obviously, I've already talked about quite a few books that are based on mythology, folklore, or fairy tales, but like I said, and we've already established, I'm a crazy person, and I'm going to be reading Arusha and The End of Time by Roshni Chashki. And this is another Rick Riordan Presents. It kind of gives me 1001 Nights kind of vibes. The main character, Arusha, releases a spirit, a genie, I think, and she basically has to save the world from destruction. And I'm really excited to read this. And lastly is The Shadow, which is to read a book released in 2020. For this prompt, I'm going to be reading Seekers of the Wild Elm by Alexandra Ott. Again, it's another one that I found just kind of scrolling through Goodreads while I was looking for books to read for this challenge. And it is another dragon book. Like I said, not intentional, but I'm really excited. This is a story about a girl named Bren who really wants to be a seeker like her father. But seekers have only ever been boys or men. So when a vacancy opens up because a seeker retires, Bren is told under no uncertain circumstances will they train a girl. Of course, she is very disappointed, but when her competition, a boy named, what is his name? Ari, comes to her with a secret, a dragon that he has been hiding, and asks for her help, she agrees under the agreement that he shares his training with her. So there's a whole bunch of adventure and magical and, you know, learning how to trust and friendship, and I'm really, really, really excited for this book. So that is my Believathon 3 TBR. Hopefully I will be able to get through all of it. I plan on vlogging this month. Hopefully I can actually do it. Culture shock is hard. Adjusting to a new job is hard. Teaching is hard, and it's all worth it. But sometimes I'm just too exhausted. And yes, so those of you who have lived in a place where your language is not the primary language spoken, you know language fatigue is a real thing. And I so greatly admire refugees who do not come to places where they don't speak their language by choice. They're kind of forced to. And man, I can't even imagine. Like, I chose to be here and I'm exhausted. Anyway, regardless. So, thank you for watching this video. I will keep you updated, and until next time, Mir Popshin.